Now, there's a young Austrian law student who's made international headlines since last year for all that he dislikes about Facebook. Max Schrems filed dozens of complaints at the Irish Data Protection Agency about Facebook's data practices last year. And that's because Facebook's European headquarters are based in Ireland. And on Monday, he got actual FaceTime with Facebook executives. Max told Reem Hegazi how that meeting actually went.
What I thought was kind of interesting is that the whole situation was 6 hours. We were actually the pushers in the whole situation, while they were more like following us somehow. I thought it might turn the other way around, being like everything in English, having some bulldog from the US, and we were like afraid that they're like just gonna like talk us down or something. And actually the exact opposite happened.
When you say they, who are you talking about exactly?
There was Richard Allen, who is the super lobbyist of Facebook in Europe. He's a British citizen and he's also in the upper house of the British Parliament, which is kind of interesting. And then there was a representative from Facebook in the US from the policy team, but she's not a public figure, so we didn't put out her name so far. And both of them had like the different arguments. What's really interesting about it is that for a lot of the issues, for example, we're discussing consent and if user really consented to what's happening on Facebook. And consent in data protection is really a harsh bar to meet. And oftentimes they were arguing things that were like, the user hasn't said no, so we assume he consented to it. And I was like, dude, that's like the total opposite of what the law says. And that was kind of an interesting atmosphere. We're also interested in a lot of things, especially the colleague that was from the US hasn't heard of a lot of the European laws, I had the feeling. So we also told her that a lot of the terms that they have, like civil law terms, not data protection, are just totally valid. Any first-year law student could totally dump that out.
Okay, so it was an exchange. It wasn't necessarily a battle.
No, not at all. I mean, for a lot of the things, we just pinned down certain issues and said, you know, for example, there's one complaint we have on pokes. And there are 5 issues why we think the way they treat pokes right now on Facebook is illegal.
You mean the poking?
The poking, what the Americans like to do all the time.
Okay.
Anyways, but there were like 5 issues that we had with it, and we could resolve like 2 of them, while the other 3 are still open.
What about the timeline thing? Because today, if you're on Facebook and you haven't established your own timeline, in other words, it's a different way of organizing your own profile page. If you haven't established your timeline, then Facebook will establish it for you. And it's really actually rather transparent, the timeline, as to what you've been doing since you joined Facebook. So did you guys get a chance to discuss the timeline issue?
We didn't go into it. There was like too much to discuss around, but we do have a complaint concerning the timeline, but it's thin ice to walk on legally. You can argue both ways, but we want to have a complaint in that as well, just to like give a little pressure there as well.
Max Schrems meets Facebook.
FM4
Reality Check.